Digimon is one of those anime I watched as a kid, but it doesn't really count anime. But I did spend a lot of my childhood watching the various seasons, or playing some of the hardly passable games that I still love anyway.
This is my entire childhood.
So naturally, I was excited to see Digimon Adventure was getting a 2020 remake, especially after overpaying to see only bits of Try in theaters, simply for the experience. The first thing I thought though is it doesn't look new. Now it's not saying it doesn't look good because it does. It reuses a lot less animation from what I've seen so far, it's smoother, it has some pretty eye-catching digital effects, but the art style, especially of the characters, is damn near spot on to the original. It's weird looking at most anime that get remade, there's a divide in the fandom about the old art style or the new art style, but you can't even have that here because they're basically the same. Now, with nostalgia being one of their likely biggest selling factors, it's a clear win. But it feels more out of place when the character design stays the same and the scenery evolves behind it. A decent amount of the first 3 episodes takes place in a weird, abstract digital world like what you're seeing right now. It's something that would mesh well with a more modern art style, but feels detached from the 2000s kid anime characters. It's probably the most nitpicky point I have because it still does look very good. I just wish the character designs had been updated a slight bit as well. This abstract digital world also brings some more problems. Now, they're there rather than the real world mimicking digital world, because the first episode see, and I'm 100% using the English names for nostalgia, fight me, Tai, Matt, and Izzy stopping wild runaway trains from crashing, and then preventing a ballistic missile from leveling Tokyo. Actually. Now, I have no problem with an anime in this vein being ludicrous or over the top. I mean, they're not really supposed to make sense, and that's okay, that's what they are. But it's kinda like they forgot this was called Digimon Adventure. The original opens on just that, adventure, as they're sucked into the foreign and dangerous digital world with new monster partners. Something about that whimsical exploration spirit is lost when your protagonist is stopping missiles on day one. And a lot of the character of the digital world drops out when it's so non-concrete and meaningless. I don't feel anything from them running through random blue planes of data. Eventually, at the end of episode 3, they reach the traditional digital world, and once they do, there is no denying it looks much more interesting than before. Instead of dropping into the forest, we see a whole landscape with fantasy cliffs and a blue sea of data. I just wish they had led with that. I think they might pull it back to the adventure a little bit. Our first look at the digital world, we see more Digimon things that look very whimsical, so I think we might reach back to that point. But starting off with such blatant fan service just doesn't leave a very good taste in my mouth. It harps back to a problem that Digimon has always had when they're trying to follow up Adventure 1 and 2, and that's fan service. Again, nostalgia is always going to be one of their main selling points, but it's like they forgot there's more to Digimon than just having Omnimon show up and slash through all the baddies. Yes, that happens here. Already, in episode 2. I hate how dumbed down it reads. When I think about Digimon Adventure, it's not Omnimon and heroism, it's kids trapped on a haunted looking island with a literal devil. It's small moments between Tamer and Digimon, and the sense of wonder that comes with seeing new creatures and places. And Matt being a fucking dick. In the mix of fear and excitement they all had meeting literal monsters that already knew their names somehow. Here, Kuramon still knows Tai's name, but rather than waking up with Kuramon there, he flies through the weird digital space and saves him while he's falling and damaged. It just seems to be kind of missing the point. But for all the negatives we've covered, there is good to go over as well. Now, there's no denying that those 2000 kids anime were cheesy as hell, but it was in an endearing way. And we get a lot of those same vibes here, mostly coming from the sound department. It's not the exact same, I mean, it doesn't have those super tacky 2000s guitar riffs that adorn the original, but it leans more heavily on some classic elements. It's serving the same purpose just as well though when it rises to over-the-top and blaring tones to accompany every even just somewhat dramatic moment. And despite the lack of traditional adventure so far, some of the scores try to fill that gap with absolutely whimsical softer tones that make even simple peaceful moments feel deeply engrossing. I actually went back and rewrote this section to praise the audio even more, because it really is a treat to the ears and it's almost worth watching just to hear how great it sounds. This isn't to say the animation doesn't pull its own weight though, as we've already said, it does look beautiful, and it brings its own sense of cheese to this as well, with the massive whatever the fuck beams from both friend and foe, and poses to match all the hero "only we can do it" dialogue. And also expect all the "it's not over yet" in similar phrases like that you could ever want. It looked, sounded, and just was fun, and that's really what you're gonna want from something like this. It was just in a different way than I expected, leaning more on the drama than on the titled adventure. In a weird twist though, it also showed it could take a turn for the serious in a way that I really wasn't expecting. The missile launch, even when you know it won't succeed, is chilling, with the Argomon transforming into a massive beastly form as they launch. In the beginning of the Omnimon fight, for how much I disliked it already happening, was silent and serious. Omnimon puts its cannon to Argomon's back, and we see it turn and look just as it's blasted. There's just something about the way they move and the moves they did that came off as serious rather than heroic or evil. Now this eventually dips out for the cheesy heroism, but it's nice to see they have the tact to make important moments when needed. For how fun the original was, there were also dark tones and moments. This wasn't the happy, fun times let's all choose an adventure at Pokemon, it was kids forcefully trapped on a dark island with, again, a literal devil. So the seriousness left me in better spirits that they could achieve those moments later. And that's all I really have to say. This is just going to be a bit of a shorter one. If they can overcome the rampant fan service and tone things back just a little bit to let the adventure shine through, I think we could be looking at something that's going to be very well done here. It'll be more true to form, and overall just a massive moment for the franchise if they finally overcome this cycle of just doing the same thing over and over again, even if they kind of already gave in a little bit. Maybe I'm just needlessly hopeful about a series that fell to the wayside in the shadow of others long ago. But Pokemon just never did it for me, and as I often joke, Digimon was the emo Pokemon, because it wasn't afraid to explore those darker moments, especially when you got into Tamers, which was Digimon Season 3. And if this goes well, maybe we'll get a Adventure 2 remake, and then logically we get a Tamers remake, and then my life will be complete and I can die happy. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Digimon for now. Now, usually this is where I'd point to the screen and say check out some of our other insert content videos here, but I've never talked about Digimon on the channel before, just because there's really not as much to talk about. But if you do want to see more Digimon stuff, specifically if you want to see any of the old games, I'd love to just take a quick look at some of them, if that's something any of you would be interested in at all. But if you're new here and want some more content, I do have lots of other videos, in-depth discussions of different animes. We have first impressions, general reviews, comedy. I think there's something here for everyone. So if you like this, leave a like so I know to make more, consider subscribing for some of that other stuff, and leave me a comment to know if you like this video, what you think might happen in the future of Digimon, or if you just want to tell me I'm a stupid idiot. I always appreciate those too. But anyway, I'll stop rambling, let you get on with your day, and just say thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Hopefully when we get a Tamers remake.